Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to the weekly Nintendo News Roundup live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. The All In Crew breaks down the week in Nintendo news. Good to see everybody. Good to see Eric there with his Halloween mask on.
Yeah. Happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Halloween, Seth. How are you, my friend?
Tired, but I'm here.
That's
I'm
fair.
I'm I'm hanging on.
That's
We're
fair. You
here. We're
got a
doing it.
very big week next week, but we're here. We're doing it live. Very happy to be spending part of our Halloween weekend with all of you. And here at the beginning of every news roundup, like we do every week, we have got to send a special shout out to some particularly spooky members of our community.
That's right. Over on Patreon, patreon.com/allinpodcast. Big shout outs to the friends and supporters over there. Let's shout out our Golden Banana tier supporters: Rob Yapel, Third Strongest Mole, Sean O'Baggins Ashton, Tim A, aka Neoprime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Matt, Shy Guy City Murray, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Bowza, who's in the chat, whale hello Bowza, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, Foolish Fuji, Alan, hashtag Look to the Cookie, and Patrice Millette. Big thank you to all of our Golden Banana tier supporters. But moving into our Triforce tier, you think Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, John, Dat Fast Cummins of the Retro Logic podcast, as well as the On Topic Retro podcast, and benefactor of the giveaway that will be happening on tomorrow's episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast. So look forward to that. 2 winners will be drawn on tomorrow's episode of the podcast, and they'll both be receiving free copies of Mario Wonder. So big thanks to John for that. Thank you to the Globetrotting Jet Set Nintendo Hub and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub over here on YouTube, Adam Caparello from the Retro Groove podcast, Shy Guy, the other half of our Shy Guy mod squad. Thank you, Shy Guy, Danilina Hosa, Dan and Luma, and the legend himself.
The man who always gives out the biggest pieces of candy every Halloween night, Uncle Randy.
Yeah, I do bet Uncle Randy's one of those king size houses.
Thousand times.
I
I bet he absolutely is the one that you go to. Just has like the king size, the 4-cup Reese's Pieces drops, the king size Snickers. Uncle Randy's house, I'm sure, is just a sugar coma in house form.
Uncle Randy and his wife, they don't have kids, so I imagine they go out for Halloween. I don't know, but I imagine that's what happens. So nice. Big thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you all so much for that. That's a great way to support the show. You can also support the show by picking up some merch. bit.ly/allinmerch is also in a little bar right behind if you're watching us on YouTube, right underneath the video. We got some great merch over there. That's a great way to support the show. And if you listen to this show on your podcast feed, rating the show is very helpful as well. And that's a free way to support the show. Very, very helpful and helps get our show in front of the people who need to see it. Big thanks to everybody who sent in reviews to enter into the giveaway. We got a huge influx of new reviews on both Apple and Spotify. So thanks guys for doing that. It's a bit of a weird week. We we're in the Halloween season. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, but there's at least one big thing to talk about. So
yeah, I wonder if Nintendo did this just, because they didn't think anybody would notice Halloween week. But we do have a couple spooky and trick-related stories to talk about this week in the Halloween News Roundup. So, as we do each and every week, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, yeah. There's, I think for sure the biggest story of the week was Nintendo announced these new community tournament guidelines that cropped up. Publication date October 24th, 2023. Effective date November 15th, 2023. We're not lawyers. We're not professionals. We're not even the people who are going to be affected by this. So this is a very layman's take that we're going to be providing here tonight. I've done a lot of research on this. I've listened to a lot of professionals, people like Ludwig and Hungrybox have weighed in on this.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the FGC have weighed in on this. And so there's a lot of different things to pull away here. And we'll provide our commentary, but I do just, before we even get into any of this, I do just want to, make very, very clear that we are not the experts on this subject matter or something like that. We know what we're talking about, but we know what we're talking about as much as we can. So,
well, for these community tournament guidelines, Nintendo has always historically kind of been at odds, it felt like, with the tournament community, with the people and the organizers around which many of their games are played in an organized fashion. Of course, they have worked previously directly in conjunction with organizations like Evo, and there's some muddy waters going on right now in terms of their a partnership with Panda, and they're like Nintendo is. It seems like they're trying to figure this out. However, especially according to a lot of members in the FGC, this was kind of another misstep on Nintendo's behalf.
it's a lot. There's so much to dig into here, and there's a lot of like little ins and outs with these community tournament guidelines. It's kind of impossible to know what the long term ramifications of this are going to be. But I think the biggest thing here, these are community tournament guidelines. So these are Nintendo highlights here. The community tournament is small scale and not for commercial profit. This is the big thing. And these, by the way, are guidelines. This is not the law. This is not Nintendo's law. This is basically Nintendo saying, this is our guidelines. We have the right to put the kibosh on your event. Yeah. If you don't abide by these guidelines, then we do have the right to to pull the rug out, and then legal action can be taken. But these are just guidelines, and these guidelines in particular are for small scale events. So large events, your things like Hungry Boxes, the Coin Box, all these like larger, grander scale events that have like large prize pools and stuff are not applied to this, because they actually are going to have to submit for an entirely separate license from Nintendo. We'll get into that in a second. For this purpose, though, the community tournament has a cap limit, 200 participants for in-person or up to 300 for online. And you cannot get commercial revenue from these. You cannot generate commercial revenue. You also can't take in any sponsors as well for these that have like monetary, sponsor value. If you charge participants entry fees, they cannot be more than $20 US. No prize can exceed a market value of $5,000. You can't have a total value of cash prizing a single organizer can offer through community tournaments in a 12-month period must be no more than the equivalent of $10,000. So the person running the thing can't make more than 10 grand a year off of it. So in other words, that's in place so that like nobody can make running small community tournaments their full-time job. Yeah. Right. That's basically the deal there. And that's like the big pieces. They get into the weeds on things like, the usage of mods, which Nintendo has always been very anti-mod. The usage of even stuff like third-party accessories, which has also been very sort of derided. So there's a lot to dig into here. We don't need to go point by point, but there's a lot to talk about with this.
Yeah, well, when it comes to the third-party stuff, and especially the FGC, one of the big things within the FGC is there are a great many number of people who even remotely consider themselves serious players who primarily use fight sticks. And Nintendo doesn't exactly produce many of those. They much prefer to use an arcade stick, a fight stick, not to use a more traditional type of video game controller. And under these community guidelines, again, from what I've heard from other FGC members, that makes basically all fight sticks at these events unusable, which is unfortunate, because that alone is going to prevent a lot of participation, just because of, again, how prevalent the use of all of these is. And especially when it comes to like controllers and stuff, I don't get that. I don't understand that, because I mean, the use of the game, the use of the system that the game is played on is already going to require, a ton of Nintendo iconography and a ton of Nintendo imagery and a ton of Nintendo first-party item usage. Like, I don't get where their issue is with that, and it's only going to negatively impact the participation and potentially even the outreach of these tournaments.
It's a weird one. So these smaller scale tournaments, I think that this is more of a like CYA thing. I think this is a cover your butt thing. I think this is a like, here is the guideline, here is the like this is what we have to like officially put out there. I don't think that it will be possible, and I don't think Nintendo intends to regulate every single solitary small scale tournament or event that is happening. So like if we wanted to put on the all in, Smash tournament or whatever, and if we wanted to have our community all come together and do this thing, I don't think Nintendo is paying attention to that. I don't think Nintendo is going to come down and, pop us in the head because we have like a fight stick or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I understand. And that may be the intent behind Nintendo, but you and I have both seen Nintendo release and so many cease and desist orders and put the kibosh on so many projects that, I didn't think they would. I mean, the whole idea of the Nintendo Ninjas, the Nintendo got that reputation for a reason. So even if it's not their intent, I know there are a lot of people who have seen Nintendo's track record in the past with doing exactly that with basically anything that they don't agree with. The second they find something that isn't to their liking, all of a sudden it becomes a nightmare for the person behind the project, the organizer behind the tournament. So while that may be the case, a lot of people, I'm sure, are looking at these guidelines as if one of these things is even slightly out of order, we're afraid that we are going to get a cease and desist and completely kill all the good work that we've done. So that's just, again, because of Nintendo's track record over the previous so many decades. And I'm sure from an organizer standpoint, I'm sure that's something that's always in the back of their minds.
Sure. Sam in the chat says the point seems to be that Nintendo is identifying tournaments at this scale are ones they don't regulate. And that's what it is. So if you're doing something that is above a 200 person, in-person thing, or 300 people, which is a lot of the stuff that like you're talking about, the stuff that gets the Nintendo Ninjas, that draws the attention of Nintendo, the stuff that has money involved as well. That's the kind of stuff that now needs a license. And that stuff is, from what it seems, will not be held to the same scrutiny as this. These guidelines are specifically for teeny tiny events. And these are outside of like the Eye of Sauron sort of thing. It's one of those like, hey, like, just so you know, like, this is the guideline and you do put yourself at risk for doing it, but also it's one of those things where it's like it's probably okay. But if you're going to make a big splash and if you're going to run a completely unregulated, huge event with a ton of money, then Nintendo's probably going to take notice of that. But if we were, if somebody just did a small scale event that does fall inside of these community guidelines, then these are not regulated events. And I think Nintendo's aware of that. And I think they mostly just wanted to put that out there so that it's known. And it's also important for Nintendo to protect their IP. If they don't have stuff like this out there, then it gives them less of a foothold in the court of law if they don't protect, themselves in this way. And by the way, Capcom has very similar rules. As a matter of fact, with Street Fighter V in particular, very similar rules to this, like almost to the letter. And it's funny because, Nintendo, I'm not trying to, stick up for Nintendo here or whatever, because I do disagree with a lot of this stuff. Particularly the limitation on people's takes, like organizers' takes, I think is weird and dumb. I don't think you need to limit the amount of money people make from it. I also think that sponsors not being able to get involved with smaller scale events is stupid. That kind of stuff rubs me the wrong way. But I do think that, like, I understand why Nintendo is doing this. I think that they have to put that sort of thing out there and at least have some kind of regulation at a large scale with large scale tournaments. They have to be able to monitor that and regulate that. And yeah, I get it. Like, it sucks that you have to go and apply for a license. But the good news is, based on, this is not activated in North America yet, but it has been activated in Japan, and Nintendo of Japan at least has been approving these very quickly. The largest Smash tournament in Japan applied for 10 licenses, and all 10 were approved inside of 24 hours. So they have been pretty good about, getting these things approved. And the licenses don't cost money or anything like this. So I'm hoping that once Nintendo of America enacts this, they approach it in a similar way to where people who are throwing on bigger events can easily apply for licenses and can easily sort of get that kind of stuff out there. There's a lot of red tape to cross with that as well, of course, but hopefully this is more of an olive branch than a shakedown. I think that this is, you could read this as like, oh man, like Nintendo's trying to kill all of the competitive esports, but you could also read it as Nintendo's trying to put something in place to where, okay, we're talking, and this is what we expect, and we're not just going to do random shutdowns. We're not going to randomly sue you, because now you know where we're coming from, and now you know what our guidelines are. And if we can just, conform to their guidelines a little bit, then maybe we can actually have a little bit of a period of peace, is what I look at this like.
Well, Nintendo's olive branch is going to wind up being their enforcement of this over the coming months and however long these are the guidelines for small community tournaments like this. So we have this document, but in the coming weeks and months, we're going to find out, kind of how Nintendo, we're going to see if this really is intended to be that olive branch. And I hope it is. Can we bring it up one more time real quick? I want to, the sponsor thing. I just thought about something.
Okay.
We talked about how no sponsors are allowed at the tournament. In terms of the language of this, what about sponsored players, sponsored esports athletes?
Well, those people aren't competing in small tournaments like that anyway. I don't know if that is even like sponsorships where sponsors. Here, let me pull this up so we can try to find it and look at
you have people like Hungrybox and Sonic Fox who are only going to go to the big pool tournaments.
Well, who are only allowed to.
Yeah. But you are going to have a lot of people, like every year you've got people trying to become professional esports athletes, and they have to cut their teeth. You can't just immediately go from, not everybody's an L.I. Joe. You can't just immediately go from obscurity to world famous. A lot of people are going to have lower tier sponsors, and they're going to cut their teeth on lower tier tournaments. And I do wonder if like those people trying to get in that way, if they're going to, have sponsors or that advertise or promote any entity, product, or service. Yeah, that could very well be applied to smaller sponsored athletes as well. So that may, impact.
Yeah.
That
Sam
may
points
impact
out here too. Community tournaments must have competitors that enter as individuals or nonprofit teams. So if you compete on behalf of a nonprofit team, it's not a community tournament.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. Non-nonprofit team. So you have to be able to, like, if it's no longer a community tournament, it's no longer within these guidelines if you're competing for, like you said, like a sponsorship team or something like that.
Yep.
So that falls outside of this realm of jurisdiction. That's the kind of thing that, again, needs a license.
Yeah.
So I think, it's going to boil down to the enforcement on these rules. If it actually affects anybody at all, I personally don't really expect it to. I don't think that Nintendo is planning on cracking down unless somebody is like wildly breaking the rules. But it also depends on how they treat people who do get a license. And so far from Nintendo Japan, so far so good. Another wrinkle to this is this stuff that we're seeing here is all about Smash Ultimate in particular.
Yeah.
There's no mention of Melee, for example. And Nintendo is not officially recognizing Melee really at all. So if you're trying to do like a large scale Melee tournament, I don't know if that's even going to be officially approved by Nintendo. I just don't. I don't know if they are going to allow people to run large scale Melee events. We'll have to find out. These are the kind of, we don't know everything because we haven't seen this put into practice yet, but This is the kind of stuff that people are kind of freaking out about.
Yeah. In terms of have you seen anything in terms of Splatoon 3?
No, not yet. The Smash community is the one that's really latching onto this. But Splatoon, though, a little bit as well. There's the hashtag free Splatoon and stuff like this.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Same rules apply. Same rules apply to Splatoon. It's all these community tournaments. But I think the Smash community is the one that's really kind of latching onto this. And it's also something that I think people should keep in mind too. Like when it comes to Nintendo's protection of their IP, like if they they know that they can't regulate this small scale stuff, so let's put out these guidelines to try to protect our IP a little bit, or at least give ourselves the legal leg to stand on to put the kibosh on stuff like this. And to be able to take the regulated tournaments, these larger scale regulated tournaments that we're providing licenses to, we need to be able to keep an eye on that, because we don't want our brand, our games, our whatever associated with stuff that isn't going the way we want it to. Like, we can't, if somebody's going up there and, like, promoting, like, whatever, hate speech or, whatever, like, Nintendo needs to be able to, like, control that and, like, regulate that and have eyes on that kind of thing. So, like, I get it. Like, I understand that it sucks to have, like, Nintendo sort of having to overlook a lot of this stuff. And I know that, like, it's not perfect, but I get it too. Like, I understand.
I get it as well. Like we said, ultimately it's going to wind up being, can't kill the ARMS competitive scene if it's already dead.
Fair.
I love ARMS. I really do. I would genuinely love to see some more ARMS tournaments out there. I would, if you run an online ARMS tournament, I'll find a way to participate. I really do love that game. It's fantastic. But again, I think this is going to wind up, the rules and the impact is going to wind up showing itself in the coming weeks and months. And again, Nintendo has been trying to kind of figure out their relationship with the tournament scene. They're very clearly still trying to figure out their relationship with the tournament scene. And for so many people who love these games like we do, and, especially for these games that just lend themselves to these types of competitions, like Splatoon, like Smash, like ARMS, I would love to see more of this. Now, I would love to see the headlines come out about, good stuff to talk about coming out of these tournaments, and not constantly having to wonder about, the Nintendo ninjas, and constantly having to worry about the muddy waters and the contentious relationship between the organizers and the company whose games they play.
Yeah, and I understand the trepidation from the FGC and the people who are affected by this too, because they don't know. It's it's a scary thing to have this sort of thing crack down. I understand a lot of the language, like, it seems scary. I get it, but my hope is that this stuff is handled properly, the way that we're seeing it being handled in Japan. Again, we're not going to know. It's too early to say, but I did just want to throw it out there that, like, it's not all doom and gloom, at least not yet. Like, this, I saw so many people being like, oh my god, Smash is dead, Splatoon is dead, this, that, and the other. Like, people are so ready to say stuff like that. And I just, calm down a little bit, relax. We'll see how the chips fall. I view this as Nintendo at least trying to, like, take this a little bit more seriously, pay it a little bit more mind than they have in the past. I mean, my ideal situation would be for Nintendo to run a lot of these events themselves and to kind of give a lot of leeway to other people who want to do stuff like this. But we have to accept that Nintendo has to protect their IP, and we have to play by their rules too, because ultimately they're the ones with the shutoff key. You know what I mean? So
it's their games, their system, it's their world. We just live in it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that was certainly the biggest news story. We'd be curious to hear everybody else's thoughts on this one. I know it's a contentious one. We got a couple little stories to hit here as well.
Going from something that's IRL scary to something that's more fun scary.
Yeah, I wanted to flag the fact that Cults of the Lamb is the current free game trial for NSO. Sense. Which is perfect. Yeah, if you're an NSO subscriber, you can play Cults of the Lamb for free on the Nintendo Switch through Halloween. As is usual, you can also get the full game for 40% off during this time too. It's a great game.
It is. And if they're still to be believed, I haven't personally seen them rescind that comment about delisting the game come January. So
who knows?
So this may be your best chance to play Cult of the Lamb in the coming months. So it is, again, available for free. The entire game is available for free as part of the NSO free game trial series. But just like the NSO free game trial series, if you would like to, if you play the game a little bit, you're like, you know what? I would just like to straight up own this game. Then it is suitably at a decent discount.
Yeah, almost half off. It's a great game, worth playing. It runs pretty well on Switch, although the deeper you get into the game, the worse it runs. I definitely had some issues as I got deeper in. But it's a great game. I really, really like that game. So it's definitely worth it. If you're an NSO subscriber, get that free game trial. Check it out for yourself. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yeah. But, I mean, speaking of Halloween events, there's a ton of Halloween events going on in a lot of your favorite Nintendo games. Animal Crossing, of course, Jack the Czar of Halloween is running around here in a couple days. Fortnite's got a big Halloween event. Suika game, the watermelon game, has a brand new Halloween event. Another reason to drop a couple dollars on that now that it's on the US Nintendo Switch eShop. So a lot of fun Halloween events going on this week. And there's even one for Mortal Kombat 1 that a lot of people are mad about. They actually have a $12 Halloween Fatality up on the premium Mortal Kombat shop. So
nice.
Yeah, that's the real scary part. But I mean, it's not just fun Halloween events. We actually have new games to play as of this week on NSO as well.
We do. You can't forget about Splatoween. Splatoween's the biggest one. Splatfest. That's this weekend. So we got the zombies, ghosts, and vampires Splatfest going on this week.
Oh my!
So yeah, so that's going on this weekend as well. So you can't forget about that. But yes, we got plenty of new games to shout out. First of all, Mario Party 3 did drop on N64 NSO this week. So that was a big deal. I think the only game currently announced for N64 that we still don't have is 1080 Avalanche, if I'm not mistaken.
And so I think that might actually be the last game on the current NSO roadmap. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think it's actually the last game on
for N64. Yeah. We still have stuff for GBA. Like GBA, like we still haven't seen Golden Sun.
You're
GBA
right.
Yet. You're right. So. But for N64, yes. Like as far as we know, 1080 Avalanche is the last confirmed N64 NSO game coming. So who knows? I mean, I hope they do more.
Still slated for this year, which does make sense that it would come out in November or December in the wintry months. It would make sense for us to drop a snowboarding game during that part of the year. But yeah, how did I forget about Golden Sun? My lord.
Yeah, there's some GBA games we still need. But yeah, Mario Party 3 is a big deal. This is, by many people's estimation, the best one. There are a lot of people who consider this to be the best one. So, yeah, cool. Good drop.
We got the whole trifecta of Nintendo 64 Mario Party games that they drew Mario Party Superstars from. That'll be another fun one to try to find for people and jump online with. Yeah.
Really cool. We also got, speaking of retro stuff, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 did drop this past week, which collects Metal Gear 2, and then Metal Gear Solid 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3, all in this collection. It's not the best version of the game, is not on Switch, unfortunately. But still cool to have these on Switch, and I probably will wind up picking it up on Switch eventually, begrudgingly.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the games in these forms, this is the first time they've been available on a Nintendo platform. Obviously, the original Metal Gears were Nintendo exclusive, but especially this version of Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2. And I know we had Snake Eater 3D. We had Metal Gear Solid 3 3D. But this version of Snake Eater is the first time this has been on a Nintendo console. And if you only have Nintendo, this is still going to be a decent way to experience these classics. So it does bug me that the classic like NES games are the only games on the cart. So
right.
I mean, Annapurna is out here putting literally 12 full games onto a single cart. By the way, anybody who picked that up from I Am 8-Bit, But yeah, I don't see how we couldn't fit. But never mind, I'm about to go off on a huge tangent. But regardless, if you have a Nintendo Switch, this is still a decent, if not the optimal way to experience a bunch of stealth-based action classics.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they whatever. I mean, if they can't fit it all in the cart, that's whatever. That doesn't bother me as much as not getting them running at 60 frames per second. These are PS2 games.
That's fair.
Be serious. Be serious, Konami. Anyways, we had that come out this week. Dave the Diver
Yeah.
dropped this week. That's a big one.
Dude, I completely forgot Dave the Diver was coming out until I checked the eShop last night, and there he is staring at me in all of his pudgy blue, wetsuited glory for $20 on the Nintendo Switch eShop, and I'm like, oh god, that's out too. I have to play it before the end of the year. I really want to check it out. I know you played it on PC. I know you absolutely adore it.
I played the demo for Switch.
Yeah. But I can't wait to check this one out. I hear nothing but good things. All the reviews that have already come out for Dave the Diver are all glowing. So really, really excited to check that one out. Kind of snuck up on me there a little bit. But yeah, for Halloween, Dave the Diver also available now on the Nintendo Switch US eShop.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I didn't play it on PC. I played the Switch demo though, and really liked it. I have a video here on the YouTube channel for it, and I do want to play. Apparently, they didn't advertise this, but apparently your save from the demo can carry over into the full game.
Okay,
so that's pretty cool. We got that game Gordian Quest that Barry told us about a couple weeks ago because Premium Edition's doing a physical for it, I guess, at some point. That came out digitally this week, so that's like a Slay the Spire kind of card-based deck building RPG. That came out this week as well.
Yeah, he turned us on to that. It does sound pretty good, so I might have to check that out. A game that I knew would come to the Switch eventually finally did release this week, and that is this adorable frog detective game that kind of looks a little bit like Little Gator Game to me. But, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a ton of just weird, bizarre fun.
I can't wait to play this one. Yeah, this is one that I've also... Like, a couple of these, like Dave the Diver, Frog Detective, I've been waiting specifically for these to come to Switch. It's like, these are coming.
Exactly.
So, it's cool to finally have these. Yeah, and they've made a few Frog Detective games. This bundles all of them. This is the entire mystery. So, really, really cool.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to playing that eventually, and also got to shout out World of Horror.
Of course.
There's a video out on the channel right now. You can check it out. I've played it for a little bit, and I'll give some deeper thoughts on tomorrow's episode of All In as well. But it's really cool. It's I'm glad they got this out in time for Halloween, because it's a really cool sort of like old school computer adventure Japanese horror Junji Ito kind of RPG. It's really neat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've been interested in this one. They had a particularly horrifying trailer at the horror indie game showcase. So that one really got my appetite wet for this. So definitely check that out. Check out Seth's video on the YouTube channel for that one. But in terms of other games. A couple ones that snuck up on me, but in terms of big releases, that's actually it. We've had some absolutely stacked weeks over the past couple months, even with stuff like Dave the Diver, World of Horror, and Mario Party 3. This does seem like a bit of a light week for Halloween, don't you think?
Yeah, a light week when we have Metal Gear Solid, Dave the Diver, World of Horror, Frog Detective. Oh man, yeah, what a light week. We nearly shouted out 5 games.
But make sure to let us know what you guys are playing. Let us know to make sure to let us know what you guys are doing this Halloween week. And I'm sure there's a lot of amazing parties going on. I'm sure you guys have a lot of super fun stuff planned. But very quickly, I want to let Seth shout out what he's doing next week.
Yeah, next weekend, so November 4th and 5th, I'll be at Extra Life with the Carpool Gaming crew. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people there. Y'all can check out twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live, where we're going to be streaming for 25 hours straight. My wife and I are going to be there a couple days early. We got some plans to do some stuff in the days before the event as well. Yeah, Bowza shouts out in the chat. Next week, he's getting a hug from me. You better believe it, Bowza. I cannot wait. I'm going to meet Bowza. A lot of my Carpool family is going to be over there. I'm really excited to meet everybody, to hug everybody, to play a bunch of games, raise some money for a good cause, and been working really, really hard. The Carpool team in general has been working really hard on making that a special event. So stay tuned for that. And as a result, because I'm going to be in New York, I'm not going to be here to do a news roundup next week. So there's that too for people who are listening to the news roundup. So just an FYI there. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, but yeah, tune into that next weekend, Extra Life.
Absolutely.
For the kids.
For the kids. Yeah. I've done a couple of Extra Life streams over the past years. People that I've known have been involved with the company. They've been involved with the event, and I have quite a bit of love for what they do. Make sure to support Extra Life. Even if you don't watch the entire 25-hour stream, do try to find a way to give a little bit at least this year to this amazing cause. So check it out, extralife.com. Check out all those streams going on. Check out Carpool Gaming from New York, and make sure to check out Seth's Hug. Make sure to check out Seth's Hug. But just a huge thank you to all of you that spent a part of your Halloween weekend with us. Let us know what you guys are up to. Reach out to us on Facebook, on Twitter. Join our amazing Discord. You can get a virtual hug from Bowza, who was here in the chat earlier. She's a part of our awesome Discord community. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. If you are watching us here live on YouTube, go ahead and do subscribe because, I mean, like Seth has already said, we've got a ton of other content, a ton of other videos that are always going up. And in addition to all of that and the podcast that we do, Seth, somehow, in and amongst all of that, we create exclusive content for our patrons.
We do. Patreon.com/allinpodcast is the place to be. A ton of exclusive content goes up there every week. You can head over there and check it out for yourself, actually entirely for free. You can get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier and see what all the fuss is about. That's a great way to throw a few bones our way for our hard work and get some exclusive content in return. We appreciate you for doing that. You can also support us at bit.ly/allinmerch. That's a great way to, grab yourself a shirt or a mug or a sticker and throw a few bones our way there as well. Yeah, leave a comment on the YouTube video. Drop us a like on the YouTube video. Leave us a review if you listen to us on your podcast feed. That very, very helpful way to support the show, and it's very free as well. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and for those who haven't triggered their free trial on the Patreon yet, we're actually giving you guys quite a good reason to do that this weekend. Tune in to tomorrow's episode of All In to learn more. Haha. But for all of our amazing patrons out there, to all the people that have dropped words and left us reviews, especially over this past week, and to everybody who has, picked up a piece of our merch at bit.ly/allinmerch, and to all of you who have even just shared our content around the internet, to each and every one of you, we would love to extend a huge Halloween-themed namaste.
Yeah, thanks everybody. That's been the weekend Nintendo news. We appreciate y'all for coming out. I saw Pat in the chat here earlier. We saw Sam, we saw Bowza. So big thanks to y'all for coming out tonight. We appreciate you. Tomorrow's episode of All In, it's going to be our Halloween Spooktacular. Tomorrow on All In, we're doing the top 5 zombies, which is completing the Spooky Month creature feature top 5s we've been doing. We're doing an indie showcase on Inscription, which is spooky card game. We're doing the whole thing. We're playing a game, so we wanted to tie it into a game about a game. There you go. Eric's got his physical there of Inscription. So we're doing that. And then, of course, we have brought the Nintendo Pals back in for our annual Halloween zombie survival trivia game. So you're going to have to tune in tomorrow and find out who lived and who died to the zombie horde and find out how that all shakes out. So, yeah, always a fun time.
Yes, always absolutely, guys. Definitely tune in to check out tomorrow's episode. We had a ton of fun with that one. Always go big for spooky season, and especially every Halloween.
That's right. Well, links to all of that are in the video description if you're watching us here on YouTube. If you're interested in joining the Discord, checking out the podcast, it's all down there. But we will see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween.